James Hirsen is joining us now from Hollywood. And James, why do you think these actors have chosen to get involved in this campaign in favor of the secession?
Well, it's just like any other major public issue. You know, celebrities get involved because they do have clout. And look, we're talking about an election based on the agreement they set up between Cameron and the head of the Scottish National Party, where they allow 16-year-olds to vote. And young people are greatly influenced by celebrities, even Sean Connery. And it's the actors versus the rockers, because we have Gerard Butler and Sean Connery on one side, the actors who are for independence, and we've got the famous rocker legends, Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, and David Bowie, against the referendum, trying to maintain unification. It's an amazing thing. And look, Hollywood has set up the imagery because perhaps the most famous movie about historical Scotland is Braveheart, Mel Gibson's Braveheart, which showed these freedom-loving Scots, notwithstanding wearing their kilts, fighting for liberty and freedom. And it leads a lot of Americans who are watching to think, well, that, you know, these Scots are kind of like rural America. They tend to be right of center, but nothing could be further from the truth. Scotland as a whole is left of center, a very big voting bloc for the Labour Party. And if they left, what we know is the United Kingdom, that government would shift far to the right. So this has political ramifications that are very different than what the public expects.
Well, that's true. You mentioned that, and David Cameron, the Prime Minister, has basically staked his whole political career on the fact that Scotland would not vote in favor of this. But let's talk a little bit more about the movie industry. You mentioned Braveheart, but of course a lot of folks might also remember Trainspotting, another movie that wasn't really Hollywood-based, but it didn't exactly cast Scotland in the best light. But Hollywood has spent less than $50 million filming in Scotland. Do you think there will be any change if Scotland is maybe more dependent? Will we see more productions taking place in Scotland?
See, that's one of those uncertainties because we don't really know what kind of government will emerge under Scotland. There's talk that it'll become the new Scandinavia based on its political philosophy. But one thing immediately, there's European film funding and tax breaks that Hollywood relies on, and that won't be there. So there may be a decline initially in the on-location Scotland shooting. Right now, you know, Downton Abbey, Game of Thrones, and the Outlander, the series on the Starz cable network, are all filmed on location in Scotland. So it remains to be seen whether those would continue. But I think there'd be a disruption, just like there's so many unanswered economic, political, military questions if this independence vote succeeds. And right now it's a toss-up. And you pointed out that Cameron staked his political future on it. Most analysts believe that he would be gone if, in fact, the vote is yes, and that what would emerge is a question mark, and that affects the world. And so that's why we all have to watch and see what happens.
All right, James, there's about 10 seconds left. Yes or no question, how do you think it winds up? You go with the yes or the no here?
Oh, I think it's still most likely, if you had to bet on it, it's a no. But I think yes is far more exciting. So I have mixed emotions. As an American, the idea of a country splitting off from Great Britain, that's a very familiar notion.
It is, and maybe good fodder for a Hollywood movie coming up very shortly to a theater near you. James Hirsen, thanks for being with us very much. More ahead here on America's Forum. We'll be back right after this.